Welcome to the Conscious Publicist Podcast, a space where thoughts become ideas to advocate for a more conscious human experience in the media. Our thoughts and ideas inspire action, and the most notable leaders and organizations have transformed thoughts and ideas into global initiatives that have impacted the lives of millions. My name is Ashley Graham, and as a woman-owned business founder and publicist, I guide leaders, visionaries, and creators in discovering their conscious media voice and methodologies that inspire connection, community, and impact through aligned media channels. In this podcast, we'll dive into public relations, thought leadership, business, and entrepreneurship, all through the lens of being a conscious human being. I'll take you behind the scenes into the habits, thoughts, and modalities that have helped leaders shift past paradigms of limiting beliefs, comparison, and self-doubt to show up for themselves to become the subject matter experts they were called to be. Subscribe to the show on Apple or Spotify and join us on this journey of awakening the conscious, enlightened leader within you. You know those exchanges where the energy is already high, the alignment is already present, and you just know that what's about to unfold is going to move something in somebody? That is exactly what this episode is. My guest today is Whitney Alexandra, a performance coach for top women entrepreneurs who are ready to create limitless wealth and a life that goes far beyond their wildest desires. With over 20 years of experience helping powerful business owners unlock their peak potential, Whitney brings an evidence-based approach to performance coaching that creates transformational shifts, often in a matter of months, not years. Her clients don't just up-level their businesses, they up-level every area of their lives. And today, we are going deep on something that I believe is at the root of everything: identity. Specifically, the big, bold, maybe even a little wild dream that you have been sitting on. The one that feels too large to say out loud, too far from where you are right now, or too different from what the people around you might understand. We talk about what it actually takes to build the bridge between who you are today and who you are becoming, including the habits, the beliefs, the desires, and yes, the mind junk that tries to talk you out of all of it. We also get into the difference between wanting something and truly desiring it, why community and discernment go hand in hand, and why 2026 just might be the year you finally stop waiting for permission. This conversation is warm, it's honest, and it's deeply aligned. Let's get into it. I also want to preface that this episode was recorded a few months ago, so some of the details preface earlier this year as far as the timeline, but I do believe that the content is still just as relevant and just as powerful. I am very excited to have this conversation today. I am introducing today's guest, Whitney Alexandra, who is one of those souls that I feel the universe was always going to bring me to. Thankfully, through social media and the online space and the joys that it can bring through community, our paths were always supposed to cross, and I'm excited to share a little bit about the brilliance that she has to share and some of the conversations that we've had off the screen. Whitney, what story and message are you looking to tell through your brilliance and your wisdom today?
Ooh, I feel like it's maybe less of a story and more of a moment. I feel like lately I've been having these really interesting conversations with people where we've gotten to this place, business as usual, right? Like little improvements here and there. We've been back to the day-to-day stuff. And I've been having a lot of conversations about those deep buried dreams and the things that are too big, too bold, too weird maybe to share. And this is the year that you claim that. that you take a step towards it, that you take 10 steps towards it, that you show up in a way where you could truly receive and be that person. So I think that is my biggest message that hopefully that comes across is like, what is that big dream that you have that we've decided 2026 is that year that it comes forward? It's time.
That is so aligned for me in many ways. I
Mm,
think about how we're approaching the Chinese New Year. So we are officially exiting the year of the snake, which is all about shedding old identities, which as a postpartum mother could
yeah.
not represent what that experience is like any more clearer. And as a woman who was also born in 1990, which is the year of the horse, we are also stepping into the year of the fire horse. And I'm getting chills even thinking about this right now because that symbolizes so much about what the postpartum experience has been like for me stepping into this new identity as a mother, but also as a maternal advocate voice on how to advocate for better education for postpartum mothers and expecting mothers, because that is in my heart for so many reasons, which I'll share eventually on the podcast. But I love that. Like you said, it's not necessarily a story or a message. It's almost a way of being and a way of honoring this deep inner knowing and the calling that there's no better time than the present to step into what you are feeling called to step into. So I can already feel that this conversation is going to be so juicy. I'm going to ask you a next question to keep the energy and the frequency going. If somebody is having a hard time through whatever reason of stepping into that new identity or that next shift of their identity and who they're meant to be, how would you guide them to get through the mind junk, because our mind, oh, those tricky little fiends. How can you navigate this, the natural things that the mind can tell you through limiting beliefs or this old outdated narrative that now isn't the time to step into that new identity?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like so much of it starts from a place of visioning and having clarity on what that vision is. I always think it's so much easier to run towards something amazing than it is to be running away from a situation you don't love or is just okay. And so I always think if there is a visioning type of exercise, and for my clients, I have a visioning exercise that I call Becoming Her. So, anyone listening, you are welcome to send me a DM. I'm always on Instagram. You can send me a DM that just says Becoming Her, and I will share it with you. But I love for people to be in this place where you can vision your highest level self. You can vision your next level self. And it's without the sort of ego of today. We have these visions and these downloads and these other gifts of where we're truly meant to be. And in spending the time and really honing into that vision, that can be fuel. That can be the image that you keep coming back to when you're thinking about what that next level looks like, or maybe it's 5 levels from now. That's okay. But can you show up like that person today? And that's always what I'm trying to think about is what is the bridge between who you are today and how you're operating and that identity you have that's very rooted in today and the results and the experience you have, and that future self and what's she doing? Where's she going and how is she showing up? And we can see such contrast between that big dream vision, whatever, and where you are today. So we just build a bridge. Sounds very easy, and it can be.
I love that. Tying off to what I was saying, like, how do you get out of the head, which likes to keep us in what feels familiar? Just even the reframe of saying this is only as difficult as I choose to make it, and it can be easier. And for some reason, like what was coming to mind for me, I've been talking a lot about habits and reframes and intentions that are very popular in really building that picture of what we want. So I feel that the easiest way to make it easy is through our habits and what we choose to do every single day. And for me, what I'm doing to really lean into that image myself is just trying to, as silly as it is, try to set a routine with a almost 6-month old who has a mind of her own and is on her own timeline, but also making intentional time to be a present mother and be there for her to witness all of the moments, but then still carving out just maybe a small intentional amount of time to put towards my soul work and my purpose work that is outside of being a mother. And our habits and how we allow ourselves to intentionally and consciously dedicate that time is one of the simplest ways to keep that frequency and that momentum going.
That is a beautiful start. And if you only did that, you'd be off to the races. I think the other piece of it is like, what are the habits that next level self has? What's she doing? What does her day look like? And, maybe you're not going from 0 to 100, but maybe there's one habit that she always has. And it's so interesting because I feel like you could easily work through your entire day and say, how would that person show up? And it's really easy. I find it's really easy to do at a level when you're thinking about income level, let's say. So if I'm a $1 million entrepreneur or $100,000 entrepreneur and I want a $1 million business, what is that person doing every single day? And that's easy for people to bridge the gap. Oh, she's not sleeping in. She's up and she's got a schedule, or she's in control of her calendar. It looks like A, B, and C, right? She's always camera ready, or she's filming content. So, like, some of those habits can be really clear when we step into that next level self. Same as, what does this person wear? I always think like sometimes those external changes are so much easier to make. It's the internal stuff, like you were referencing, where you have these beliefs. And so I truly believe that when we're working through a lot of the identity driven work and thinking about beliefs and that kind of stuff, it can be as simple as just observing, what are my thoughts? And as they come up, I like to say we interrogate the thoughts. We interrogate the beliefs. Is that true? Is it really true? And if it's true, show me that it's true for everyone. Because so often we think that something is a rule and it's not. Many women conditioned as good girls. And what do good girls do? Okay, someone tells me the rule and I play by them. And then we realize as adults, oh, that wasn't a real rule. It didn't need to be true for me, but I accepted it. And so I think there's so many interesting ways to like go through and decipher, like, why do I feel like this? And is this actually true for me? Do I want it to be true? Maybe it's true for other people, but I always think if it is not true for one person, that means it's not a rule.
When you can break out of the constructs that are placed upon you, so many shifts can happen that catapult you closer to who you're meant to be. I think there's also this way of being where not judging or putting so much attention to where those constructs came from, because as we were talking about before I hit record, so many truths and experiences and thought patterns are happening simultaneously with one another. And some of that is okay. Sometimes there's no other thing to do than just to let things play out. But then if you can identify the construct and then break out of that box, then that's where I think real shift can happen. But things just need to simmer and expose themselves before you can even do that, if that makes any sense at all.
It's exactly what we've been talking about. It's having that awareness of, okay, I have this thought or I have this belief. Is that true? Right? Is it something that I want to be true? Is it an actual fact? And if it's not true, then what do I want to replace it with? It's like, I truly believe people can have absolutely everything that they desire. It's like, what will you desire? What are you prepared to like put yourself out there for? Because you'll get it. I always tell my clients, especially because I love doing all of our hypnotic recordings, subconscious recordings. And so I always find that's the fastest way to reprogram a belief, to get rid of a belief that you don't want, because you will start acting like the person who already has the things that you desire. And it's amazing because it should be a really simple question to answer, and it's not. When I ask people, like, tell me exactly what it is that you want, I hear a lot of vague things like, I want to have a great business. I'm like, okay, you have a great business. Let's just decide. It's done. What else? What else do you want? Well, I want to make six figures. I'm like, six figures is not a number. So how much? Is that 100,000 or 999,000? It's very different. So, like, when you actually go through and can get clarity on what exactly you desire, and desire for me is such a key word because I think we have been conditioned in this time to talk about wants. And for me, when I use the word desire, it's deeply rooted, felt in my heart, burning passion for, right? This is the thing versus I love a good burger. I want sushi today. It feels a little bit more transactional for me. And so I always encourage people, like, set a goal with your heart. Think about the desires and use those words. And you'll find which things are in and out of alignment when you start talking about desire. Oh, I desire a $2,000 sale. Do you? Or do you want something else?
Have you been listening to the podcast recently? There's a reason why I said that, because you more or less just said three big keywords that I had put in an episode recently talking about how to navigate the no in PR as an intentional, sensitive, soul-led thought leader. And in that episode, I talk about how to more or less navigate the feelings that can happen when you get a no for an opportunity, especially if you're out there pitching yourself and you get excited and you can see your subject matter message in a bylined article with this platform, or you know that you're going to impact that audience through your subject matter expertise. But hearing the no can feel like it's so out of reach and hard to obtain. But what I had put in that reframe is that if you lead into the urgency that you need those opportunities to justify or verify the merit in that story, it almost creates a disconnect. But if you reframe it as a desire, that you just know that you are the main person to have that story and message showcased in that outlet, then it feels way more intentional. And I feel that the person on the receiving end of that story or that message can feel that you're leading with purpose in that pitch versus acting out of need or urgency, that you need that opportunity, that you need that to validate the importance of that message. So just the fact that you touched upon that again, it really is affirming this through line that there is a frequency to this type of work, and identity really is at the center of thought leadership work, and everything else, it expands on that identity. So I think it's really amazing and beautiful how this is all piecing together in a very aligned, synchronistic way, which I told you before we hit record. It's like it
Yeah.
will. There will be so many pieces of the puzzle that will connect because I could feel it and it just felt so good.
I want to touch on what you shared. And it's like when things don't work out the way that we want them to. And something I've really been playing with and doing a lot of reflection on is like, what if we just blessed everything as a success? And what if we just trusted that the people we are meant to support and work with and help them like get to the next level, they were just delivered to us. So we didn't think about it as I'm off to sell. I'm off to meet my quota, which feels so transactional and like me trying to manufacture a result versus what if the goal was just to show up as the most powerful version of you and trust that all those opportunities meant for you are coming. And I think that is the bridge between when we talk about taking inspired action. That's it. This is what I desire. I know it's meant for me, and I'm going to do the things as though they're already mine. And through this process, maybe I adjust. Maybe my goal was too small. Maybe there was somebody I really thought was an ideal client or someone I wanted to work with or an organization that was aligned. And then I find out information that tells me otherwise. That's a gift, right? It also clears room for you to serve those people that like truly need your gift. And so I think so often we're so quick to judge, okay, this client didn't renew, or this person said no, or something else that seems like it's bad news when actually it's probably a blessing.
I couldn't agree more. What I would say always differentiated me from being a publicist when I was doing one-on-one work. Now, the PR industry and the paradigm of PR is always pitch to gain, pitch to land, pitch to secure. There was always a number that you were reaching for. And don't get me wrong, results were always generated through my approach. But one of the reframes that I always talked about with clients, but then more so just continuing to hone in on my specialties and the magic of the work that I did, is that again, it was never about the numbers, but it was all about finding the opportunities that made sense. Really understanding who it was that I was pitching, the outlet that I was pitching, understanding if they even had the audience that would make sense for my client, and then thinking about what could happen outside of that opportunity. So I always went in with an abundant mindset that if I was only sending like 10, 20 pitches a month, when, you know, some people are used to sending hundreds of mass press releases a month, I was just always very particular about who it was going to. But the most amazing thing that always happened was one opportunity always turned into more just from that one pitch. And that is just from intentionality. And like you said, you're leaning with the purpose and the desire, not the transaction. And I feel that that applies to anything. It's like there's this laws of this work, right? And if you are seeking to gain with no give, then there's nothing that really can expand beyond that. But if you're really leaning into the heart and the soul of why you want that subject matter heard in the first place, how it impacts the audience, but more so how it impacts the person that you're pitching to, and you're making their life and their work easier, you are just going to stay top of mind. And so as a publicist, I took on that role for my clients and was really leaning into the relationship part of it versus the ask of what can you give me and my client through this conversation. It doesn't translate well when you present it that way, but that is why I'm called the conscious publicist.
I think there are so many parts about business that have felt black and white to people. And if we were to adopt some new beliefs around it, then we wouldn't feel that way. If you had this belief that selling is love, like for me, I have so many clients that, yeah, I sell, and the impact of our work is that they actually spend more time with their family. They get to go book these incredible vacations and actually take time off for work or whatever it is that's meaningful to them. And so I feel like, yeah, I'm selling because that is the transaction, but the benefit that they receive is so much greater and like truly life-changing, whatever that means to them. I think that is one. Sales is love. I love that one as a new belief that people can take and build. I always believe that like when I get that little nudge of intuition, it's up to me not to ask questions, but just to follow the lead. And either I'm going to follow the lead and it's going to unlock something else, or it's going to unlock maybe I've had an open question in my mind, right? Like for me, I had an open question in my mind. Maybe I would like to get into a particular type of work with a client. And I pitched it because I got a little nudge. I pitched it and nothing came of it. I'm like, okay, I could continue following up and doing that, but I also can just say, you know what? I followed my assignment, and my assignment was the nudge of reaching out. That's it. That's it. I think we don't need to know the answer. And I think what you described is sometimes we have such an attachment to the outcome, and we're not responsible for the outcome. We're responsible for taking the action, right? Making the invitation, connecting with the person or connecting people, putting out great content. I look at your podcast. It's such an amazing podcast. If your podcast changed one person's life, would it be worth it? Absolutely. If it changed one person's life every episode, wow. And if that was just the goal, then that would already be blessed as success. Change one person's life with this episode. And unfortunately, we're like driven by analytics and metrics and all of these other things where we think, oh, it's not a good podcast or a good episode or a good piece of content unless it gets this many likes, this many viewers, this many things. And I personally had a story. It was like 7 years later, I heard about the impact that something I did had on someone. And you don't always hear the stories, which is such a beautiful thing. You just have to trust that your voice and your gifts are being used for good, for the greater good, that the right people will find you at the right time. It's like total self-trust.
Wow, what a looking glass into thoughts that I've never even shared with you. It's like you've spoken them into this narrative and into this conversation, which is incredible. But with this membership that I am building through the Conscious Publicist, it's to really help people break out of the constructs of what you said, the data, the numbers, and these limiting paradigms of data or analytics that people are or have them placed upon them. Like you said, people get so hung up on the numbers and the outcomes. And sometimes the most impactful work, you're not going to know the outcome right away because there's more things that need to transpire and transform in order to understand the outcome. And that's what I'm hoping to build in this community, that just because you might hear crickets when you start to share your subject matter expertise does not mean that there is no merit or purpose or value in it. It's just maybe you need to lean into that identity more to have that clarity, how to say the right thing that really is going to resonate with somebody else. Sometimes we're just so ingrained with urgency to get things moving without actually having the time and the space and the capacity to become that person. And that's one of the things I know that is not quantifiable of what I'm bringing into this community or this membership, but it's really to hold the space and having somebody with a very big picture view and lens to see things in a different way and to learn from somebody who knows exactly what needs to be extracted from a story and then where that needs to live. That is one of the things that has kept me in PR or in this work for so long, is because I want to be the catalyst to recognize the value in that person and their subject matter expertise that maybe they don't see. I can see it. Now, let me tell you through this new lens how you need to make X, Y, and Z happen and where that needs to live. That's one of the most gratifying things about being in this work. But, even being that person, even going through that process for myself, as it's always evolving, it's always transpiring. And even myself, I step into new identities, which is something that I'm trying to step into now, being a maternal trauma informed advocate around birth and what can happen after. And oh my goodness, I've rebuilt my whole entire personal brand like around this. And if you really get me in this space, I ask myself, who am I? Who am I to be stepping into this role right now? But like you said, the nudges, the constant nudges that keep coming in, that is what you follow. That is the affirmation of you wouldn't be getting this nudge if you weren't the person that you needed to be to step into this work. So anyone listening, take that however it resonates for you. But just know that even on the outside, if you see somebody featured here and speaking, they are always still evolving themselves. And let that be like a looking glass into what's possible for you, and just find the human connection that, wow, we are all very similar and on a very similar path of just trying to do heart and soul led work. And you just experience some bumps and twists and turns along the way.
Like, I have never met a person who didn't have some beliefs that weren't serving them. And it doesn't matter how much money they make, because I have billion-dollar CEOs, I have multi-hundred-million-dollar CEOs that I work with, and I've got entrepreneurs that are also in a building stage. And let me tell you, the things in their mind are so similar. We just talk about different numbers. But who am I to make the next $1 billion? Who am I to be the next CEO of some giant billion-dollar corporation? They're saying the exact same things as the entrepreneur that is in startup phase or the $100 million entrepreneur. What if I can't do it again? Maybe this was a fluke. Maybe I'm not meant for this. Maybe it would be easier. Like, we all have the exact same beliefs. They might just have a different dollar sign attached to it. And what I think is beautiful, that is the human connection. We're all having the exact same shared experience. And so whenever somebody thinks, oh, Ashley is this brilliant, successful PR mogul, right? She doesn't have these thoughts. Yeah, she does. She has them, and everyone else, 10 layers above and 10 levels below, everybody's having the same experience.
There's a level of comfort in that. One of the things that I feel social media or the online space could do a better job of, and maybe it's just not designed to do this, but some of the things that we see on social media, whether it be experiences, the house, the car, the clothing, the jewels, the luxury, or the soul purpose-driven work that really creates systemic change in some way. Sometimes we think that is so out of reach for us. And I think that this is leading us back into how we started the conversation, that we are only in that construct if we choose to be. Like, we do have the power, and we can empower ourselves to take ourselves out of that construct and think that whatever it is that we want to obtain, whatever we want to reach for, strive for, it really can be closer than you think it is. But that is through the way that you empower yourself.
Yeah, it's so true. Like, I often tell new clients, I actually don't care what you've done before. And I think it disarms them a little bit, because they're like, what do you mean? What do you mean you don't care? I don't care. Like, here's what I know. You're going to have your best month ever. You're going to have your best year ever. You're going to have more time. I know that you'll have those things. So I don't want you to have this expectation that it's going to be a little bit better. I want us to throw out the rules of, like, how has business or life been going for the last 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, doesn't matter, right? Because we can make some really fast shifts that will put you in a different place where you see it's possible, or you try something different, or even just a different way of looking at it, right? I often find some of my clients call it magic math, but it's pretty simple. Usually what I say is, hey, if you can make X amount in sales, there is a possibility that you can make the exact same in cash. If you can do it in a month, why can't you do cash in a month? Okay, well, if you can make 20K in a month, why can't it be 30? And sure, maybe the offers change, and that's usually what comes out of it. They say, I don't have an offer for this. I'm like, great, let's come up with an offer. Or let's come up with a new way of doing it. We're giving your brain a new job to do. Okay, solve this problem. This new problem is we want to have a $30,000 month, or we want to have a $50,000 or $100,000 month. It's like funny money when you think about the amounts. It could be any amount. You could say, if I want to sell $1 million in 1 month, why can't you do that? What would you have to do? I'd have to come up with a $100,000 offer, a $50,000 offer, or maybe a membership, or sky's the limit, right? Every client is a little bit different. But the point is we change the way that we're asking you to pursue a problem and come up with a really creative solution. We're not attached to the outcome. And because it's so much bigger than you probably have been going for recently, it seems, oh, okay, I guess I just do this. You don't have the same emotional attachment to, oh, if I'm hardly making 10K, how can I make 20? Let's skip 20. Let's go to 40. What would you have to do to sell 40? That's a more interesting question. And it requires a different identity. It requires a different set of habits. It requires probably different offers. Maybe it requires you to get serious about something you weren't serious about before. Everyone is different. And that's what I think is so beautiful and challenging about the work that I get to do. But it truly is. If the sky was the limit, what would you do? And it can be something fun. Like I remember I did it for myself one year. I thought, okay, the most I've ever done in a year is X number of dollars. Let's try and sell that this month. And that was my goal, right? And I sold as much in a month as I did in an entire year. I sold it. And I had a moment after this, Ashley. I was like, wow, anything is possible. Anything is possible. And it's not about the money, even though we love money here. We still love money. There's a way to have both, right? But it was about the possibility of, wow, you can actually have anything that you desire. And it comes full circle to how we started, like clarity. What is it that you want? I always ask people, like, okay, it's the beginning of a new year, but really you can do it anytime. If you got exactly everything you desired this year, you wrote it down on a piece of paper and you looked at that piece of paper, and you were like, is this my best year yet? And you have that emotional response to it. Is it my best year? Maybe not. Yeah, if I did those things, I feel like I should do them. But my best year yet, maybe I'd do this instead. Maybe I'd take more time off. Maybe I'd go on this adventure that I've been thinking about for a while. It's like we totally changed the question. I think there's so much that you can find in like desire, reflection, clarity, having a really amazing vision that you can run towards.
Absolutely. One of the things that I feel that this conversation needs, and one of the things that I would like to address, that there are real challenges that people go through that are so much vast behind just their limiting beliefs. We're constantly going through external challenges that are adding and affirming those limiting beliefs to think that things are out of reach for us. So I didn't want like this conversation to go without addressing that they're real. There are real problems that keep people stuck. But one of the things that I feel can really move the needle of making those dreams and desires possible is leaning on an incredible support system that can continue to affirm the value and the impact and the purpose that you have as a person who deserves and are deserving of those things. So I feel like community is very important, and community can be your business connections, your friends, your family. And so what would you say, how could we ask our community or those that we work with or those that we're connected with to help us or support us during those moments, because I feel that community, like I said, can really support somebody in reaching that next level, especially stepping into that new identity.
Yeah. You know what? It's such an interesting thing. And I don't want to be a downer in this conversation because I do believe that there are communities that are built on goodness. Like I have complete trust and faith that the community you build, Ashley, will be beautiful, right? And so I do think that there is some discernment required when you share your goal, when you share your dream. And I think about this phrase all the time, you don't go to the hardware store for milk, right? So, am I going into a community that wants to see me succeed and is cheering for me and celebrating every win? Those are the people that you surround yourself with. And you'll know as I'm saying this, whether you've got a community of friends, whether you've got a great community of family, whoever it is. So many amazing online communities. And then there are other communities where I don't believe they have your best intentions. I don't believe that they're really putting good energy out there, right? And so, what I also think is when you have a goal, a dream, it is up to you to protect it. You keep it safe, right? And so, when you've got a beautiful community, yeah, you share it with them. And when it doesn't feel safe to share it, you keep that dream to yourself and you speak life into it. I also think like we do so many beautiful things, at least in my work with clients, where I'm always hearing about their wins. So their wins are my wins. We are co-creating beautiful things together. And what I love to do, I haven't set it up this year yet, but one of the things I love to do, I take little sheets of paper. Usually I take post-it notes or things like that, and I write down all kinds of wins. I write down, okay, this client had an amazing this, or I said yes to this, or we went bull riding, mechanical bull riding the other night. So I'm like, that was fun. We had a great time, like trying something new, going line dancing, riding the mechanical bull. And so I often am thinking about what are things that I'm celebrating. So I call it like my confetti jar. It's all like celebration stuff. And so when I have a day where I'm starting to question or I'm starting to wonder or I'm maybe hormones as women, right? We're not always feeling high on life, but I can dig through those and be like, oh, wow, I'm proud of this accomplishment, or I did this amazing thing, or here's a reminder of me being a beginner, which can also feel like a real gift when you're doing something new or a big dream you don't know how to do. So I think about that. But I think most importantly, it is the level of discernment that we bring to communities, partnerships, friendships. And I just think it is your number one job to keep your dream safe, protect it.
That's so powerful. So many amazing things shared in this episode.
I mean, I feel like we could just talk for hours, which we
We,
do.
yeah, yeah. And, just the influence of this conversation is very much the same influence, the same empowerment, the same impact as all of our conversations that are not public facing, which I feel that there's like real authenticity and real vulnerability in that. So I just want to thank you for being a voice turned friend, turned now mission partner in a way. I don't know if that's like the right words that I want to say that, but that's what it is. Even though we do different type of work, I feel that you and I have a very similar lens and a heart behind why we do what we do, which is in full service of other people. So thank you for the
Yeah.
work that you do. Thank you for the connection that you've given me. Thank you for the friendship that you've given me. And I'm just so honored to know you.
Aw, thank you. And right back at you. You're so right. It's like, this is what we mean when we say community. Find like-minded people and build a community. Pour the goodness into each other.